Today's episode of Chat and Chew is sponsored by 𝗵𝗂𝘶 Productions and Multimedia Studios, LLC. I like to think of imagination as something akin to a superpower. Used in the right context for good, it can help bolster our aspirations and propel us closer to our goals. We visualize the outcome of our accomplishments and work toward attaining said thing. However, when used to propagate untruths, reality can become distorted. We no longer know what's real and what's not. The more often we repeat something to ourselves, the more likely it is to become our truth, and the lines between perception and reality begin to blur. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap. Please make sure you follow us on Facebook, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course, hit the bell to activate notifications that will remind you when we're on. Please be sure to leave us a comment to let us know how we're doing. We'd love to hear from you.
Welcome, our Chat and Chew podcast. Once again, I am super excited to be here, and I want to do a little housekeeping before we get started. To our Facebook family, make sure you like and subscribe and kind of tell us in the comments how we're doing. To our YouTube, please hit that little bell. Let us know that you are listening and you're watching. Again, I want to welcome everybody to our Chat and Chew podcast again. Today I have very excited. I always have excited guests, but today I have a young man that I met years ago, Mr. Michael Stewart Isaacs, and I just want to welcome him to the podcast.
Yes, thank you
for the first time, not to be the last time.
Won't be the last.
And let's get into some authentic conversation about fatherhood and about businesses and entrepreneurs and how we do things.
I love it.
Yeah, I met you. I don't know, God.
It's probably about what's going on a little bit over 15
years ago. A mutual friend of ours. He's like a mentor when I first got started in this. 𝗁𝘂𝘁𝘁.
Yes.
And he would bring some guys together, and a friend of mine, Charles Williams, invited me to be a part of that men's group.
Uh-huh.
And Joel is a very smart, intelligent,
Very much.
guy, very opinionated, and he's very articulate.
Yeah.
And he's very persuasive. But anyway,
Wise.
kind of got us started. And so before we get into the dialogue today, Mr. Mike, I wanted you to tell us who you are and just a little bit about your life.
Well, my name again is Michael Stewart Isaacs.
Okay.
I am the co-founder of an organization called 𝗁𝘂𝘁𝘁.
I am brilliant.
Yes.
We could definitely talk about that.
Yes, sir. I am a father of 6 wonderful, amazing.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't realize you've been busy since the last I saw you.
Well, as I say, is hers, mine, and ours.
Okay, gotcha.
So I have a nice blended.
Okay, cool. Okay.
You know, I love my children. Just definitely proud. I love the work that you do in regards to inspiring fatherhood. Fatherhood is probably the most important job I have.
Okay.
So, you know, that's kind of where I have my lovely wife, 𝗁𝗂𝘁𝘁𝘁, who's a superstar in our community in her own right.
Okay.
She does a lot of work around the country in regards to health equity and a lot of different policy making for organizations. So, you know, I'm blessed to be in a great situation. You know, just love. I grew up in Raleigh.
Okay.
I grew up, I went to Southeast Raleigh High School.
Okay.
So, yes, I love Go Bulldogs. And, you know, just, you know, authentically just love the growth and what North Carolina has been and is becoming every day. So, yes, sir.
How long you guys been married?
Me and my wife, we are married going on 7 years.
Really?
Just had our anniversary early in July. So,
Wow. Okay.
excited. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
7 years. It's my second marriage. So me and my wife would love to kind of tell that to the world.
Okay.
This is what we call our second chance.
Right.
You know, sometimes you get married the first time, you don't quite know yourself.
Yeah.
And there was a old Miles Monroe quote where he's talking about you have to come to a relationship as a whole.
Right.
You can't, people look for their better half.
Yes.
So me and my wife learned to be whole people in our second chance, and then we met each other in community doing the work we loved.
Right.
We were more evenly yoked for each other
Okay.
in regards to walking this life thing out.
Yeah. Yeah, the late great Miles Monroe, Dr. Miles Monroe, I glean from his teachings on a daily basis. I pull up my phone and I see little things that he put out there. I really, his teaching is phenomenal.
Yeah,
the kingdom and all that. But anyway, I want to kind of get you to talk about. Before we get into that, what drives you? What would you do today, over and over and over again for the rest of your life, even if you didn't get paid? What would that be?
Sometimes I would laugh and joke and say, be a business owner.
Okay.
Because as a business owner, people don't tell you the last one to get paid, right?
Yeah.
So many times, ownership is the real reward of it all.
Exactly.
But sometimes in leadership, you have to make sure you're taking care of other people. So, me, I've been an entrepreneur for over 26 years.
Okay.
I've been able to steward a business for many years and help grow other sub businesses in there. So a lot of my drive comes from just resiliency. I would say my mother and my parents inspired from me. My parents are immigrants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
My mother's from Sierra Leone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she's from West Africa, and my father's from Jamaica. So but I was born in New York. So I always see myself. I love America, and I'm grateful. But my parents came to this country with that gratitude for this country. So it permeates in who I am. I love their culture, and I love the families that I come from. But there's something special to have such a blend of culture and then grow up in the greatest country in the world, and get the opportunity to kind of see the North and the South and kind of grow up in that mix.
Have you been to Sierra Leone?
I have.
Right.
I have, yes. So,
what was the difference in the culture over there and the culture that we have over here?
So, this is a whole topic in itself.
Okay.
As someone said to me, my uncle would say to me, he's from Sierra Leone, he's like, Africa is Africa.
Right.
So, the first thing I always say is have no expectations, right?
Okay.
Don't go in there more than accepting the countries and the continent for what it is and who the people are. It's not any magical place. It's a beautiful place that you get a lot of great experiences from, but it's somewhere that everyone should go to.
Really?
I think going to Africa just really allows you to understand how the world really, quote unquote, survives, but also can thrive in another way that maybe not be what we're used to.
Right.
But people find a way to, survive. And it was interesting going back to my mother's home country. Many years ago, Sierra Leone came out of the Civil War.
Yeah.
And so they've been rebuilding different governments, but me and my family, when we went there, we were very participatory. So with some of my work, I'm a trainer and a teacher. So I actually didn't just get to go to my mom's home country and see all the beauty and see my grandma's old home, but I also got an opportunity to teach the people. And so that was the best part of it, is that I was able at this age to bring the work I do in my mother's home country, as well as, get the experience.
What about Jamaica?
Jamaica have not touched down officially.
Okay.
Related things, but I do have plans in the next few months to go to Jamaica, and that's where I should be going all the time.
Right.
I told my wife, as soon as the time I go to Jamaica, I'm not gonna stop going. At least once or twice a year, because that's where a lot of my family.
How old are you now?
I am 41. I just turned 41 July 12th.
Wow.
Yeah, I call that Michael Stewart Isaacs Day.
Okay.
July 12th, yes. But yeah.
What age was you when you went to Sierra Leone?
I was actually 39, so a couple of years. So yeah, I just got a chance to go. I started in entrepreneurship for most of my life to that drive part. So
I
always had my head down, really trying to learn this roadmap of what it is to be an entrepreneur and be in business. So I never really got to that more deeper place that I needed to connect. So, Jamaica's on my roadmap, but I'm grateful to at least got a chance to experience Africa.
Yeah. And we went on a cruise to Jamaica. Got off the boat, the ship, and just kind of walked around. I can't really say that visiting Jamaica because we was only there for, a few hours. But I love the culture over there. So tell me about this organization you call I Am Bridget. What is that about?
Well, I Am Brilliant is an organization me and my wife founded almost 9 years ago. I think we're going on next year 10 years. So for 10 years, we've had the pleasure of going into communities and helping to spark the one thing that's been missing, which is that greater hope, and giving people the understanding that they're the leadership that they're looking for. So when me and my wife first met, we actually met in Washington Terrace in Raleigh, North Carolina, before it was rebuilt.
Yes.
And, I was transitioning. I was coming back from Los Angeles. And, I had a passion to be in community, help community. I was transitioning from my last marriage, just going through a lot of life.
Right.
And when me and my wife met in community, she really was bringing a lot of spark to the community that I was around. She was someone who was already active and doing things, and she even helped to inspire me. And so she had this little statement called "I am brilliant." In my career, I've worked with a lot of entertainers. So I've done a lot of promotions, and I've worked in media. And so I've seen people who are exalted because they had a simple talent like basketball or singing or something. But my wife was really this rock star community worker, and she had this amazing concept of "I am brilliant," where she wanted to see people illuminate. And I realized that people needed a reboot. So she saw the light that was in everyone, regardless of their circumstance. And I knew that people needed more information to change their mindset, what I call the reboot. And together we took those two concepts, and then from there we built "I Am Brilliant" into a movement of a campaign. We do a photo-based campaign on social media, so you might see a sign every now and then, an event say hashtag "I Am Brilliant." That's something we started. Our goal was to take young, old, disabilities, inabilities, everyone, to give everyone the belief that they too have a spark in there that the world needs. And that's how "I Am Brilliant" was kind of born off of that.
So how do y'all do that? So what do you do exactly?
So we together were coaches, and we do motivational speaking. So she does leadership coaching, I do motivational speaking. We kind of look at it as a tag team. She kind of gives you the tools that you need when you're kind of, looking for new tools. And me, I give you that energy, that drive you talk about, like pure drive, motivation, success, and knowledge. Like I've lived it. I've actually been in the core of so many things that I believe just giving people that spark of believing that they can, takes a certain level of coaching and motivation. And that's what I do. And then she kind of gives you the tools to kind of maintain it.
Okay. So when y'all meet, he said, as a young person that you guys engage, what is some of the first things you do engaging this person?
So when we meet anyone in an organization or we meet someone in a community, our goal really is just honestly allowing them, I would say, to choose up.
Okay.
And so it's just a simple sign-based campaign. We say, do you want to be brilliant?
Right.
And then the question on the sign, ask them what makes you brilliant. And what you'll find out is most people have never been asked that question before.
Okay. Right.
And as my wife will explain, that brilliance isn't about your scholastic abilities. It's not about somebody who wins every test. Brilliance is about knowing that gift and talent that's deep inside of you, and then understanding how to put it to work every day to serve your family, your community, and your company. And that's kind of our thesis and our work.
Right. So how do you see that really playing out in Southeast Raleigh? When you get a community, any kind of community, especially sometimes in the poor neighborhood, what does that look like?
Well, I think today we have these unique tools of innovation of the cell phone in our hand, right? Part of what we realize that most people never get positive affirmation introduced into their life. So if you talk to the average person in communities that look like they're so-called poor or so-called impoverished, and I'm careful with those words,
yes,
right? Because I think that's part of what creates the manifestation, right? So that's the step one, is changing the language that we use when we reference community, right? And so one of the things we've done with I Am Brilliant is really help people to change the language that they use, especially when it first comes to themselves. Most of the time, most people have never self-actualized. And like yourself or myself, it's that moment when we have that self-reflection, that deep kind of poise about ourselves is when the light cuts on. It's something different. God kind of starts speaking to you and you start to shift. And so what we do is we're very intentional in what we call better practices on how to help people shift their consciousness, shift their mentality, shift to new opportunities, and create the affirmations that they need to empower themselves and get outside the external of needing someone else to tell them this, but for them to learn how to do it themselves. So we've kind of hit the psychology two ways. By holding a sign, you're saying, I am brilliant. But by someone seeing you in it, they're acknowledging your brilliance at the same time. So it becomes a more communal thing, but it also allows for that individual identity to be served too.
Right. So we use training. That's the type of training?
That's the work we get the pleasure to do. So we have a tour. So we go around the country and we do presentations for organizations. We do seminars, conferences, and we do it. And we also have a virtual model as well.
Okay.
So we have company partners that bring us out to their organizations virtually. So we'll help their staff and train them. And what we learn in our team, pretty much team building exercises, that most people in organizations don't have a deeper sense of who one another is.
Right.
Even when we're in so-called community.
Exactly. Right.
You can't have community, Glenn, until you learn how to communicate.
Right.
And so if the people you're dealing with don't know how to communicate because they don't see themselves as leadership, and they're always waiting for one other person to make all the decisions, we always get this gridlock. And so what we're trying to do is get everyone to realize that we're all leaders in where we're gifted and talented at, and we have to learn how to get that charged up so we can step up.
Right. So gifts and talents.
Yes, sir.
Which is something that we all have. Whether we do anything with it or not, God give it to us, we all have it. How do you identify gifts and talents in people? And then how do you help them cultivate that gift?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it the way you did, because so my background and why I feel like myself, I'm uniquely chosen to do this work, is that I had the opportunity to work with entertainers when I was young. So since the age of 13 and 14, I came from New York, moved to North Carolina, and then I was involved with like the local radio stations like K97s, and I would work with record labels, and we would work with artists. And in this era, I was fortunate to be a part of hip hop culture in the era of Def Jam, when we had like DMX, Ja Rule, Jay-Z. So I got to work with these guys directly, Redman, Method Man, here in North Carolina, and as well as across the East Coast. And so I had the opportunity, even Destiny's Child, when they first ever did anything as a group, they did it in North Carolina, here in Raleigh.
Know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. So, and I had the pleasure of working with Columbia Records and doing that promotion. I was only like 14 years old at the time. So I've been fortunate to see a lot of successful people start.
Right.
And so what I try to do in the work of gifts and talents is, I learned this from Jay-Z years ago, but he didn't realize he was a good rapper because it felt too easy for him. So when I look at that as a root cause, that's what happens to most of us, is that we take the thing that comes so simple to us and we don't see it as special.
Right. But that's your gift.
That's your gift.
That's your talent.
But other people sometimes have to tell you it's there, right? Right. You know, a kid just dribbles a ball in 6th grade. He's just dribbling, and he realizes that he's dribbling just a little bit better. But there's a coach in his life, or someone, a teacher that knows
yes, because
he's doing it.
Yes.
Yeah. So if we find those young ladies who can cook, or young men that can cook, or any talent that we have, sometimes you just need someone to say, that's it.
Yes.
And once someone hits on that part, that's that self-actualization. And the sooner you can do that, thus is what we're talking about, that brilliant spark.
Yeah,
that's when everything starts to change for a person.
Yes. And you know, we are a fatherhood organization. And one of the things I tell the fathers all the time is it's both responsibilities for the wife, the mother, and the father. But the father is one of the things is recognizing the gifts and talent in your child.
There you go.
And help cultivating that and help bringing that out. So you see a guy that he's running around and he's always on the floor and he's hitting pots and pans.
Right.
Well, that may be, this guy could be a drummer. You know what I'm saying? This, you know, if he's dancing and you're watching him kind of getting the beat, you think, oh, this guy's young. Or you know, when you look at the comedian, when you look at Eddie Murphy and these guys, like, you know, I'm telling jokes to my family and everybody's laughing, and I love to make people laugh, and I put those things together. Next thing you know, somebody's identifying that gift and that talent and take them to the next level and say, hey, you need to do this or you need to do that. Those are the things I think you and your wife is needed, because we need people in the community that can connect with people who have gifts and talents and be able to bring that out of them. I'll say, hey, this is something you need to explore. So I'm really, you know, talk about your fathers. I was talking to you earlier about your relationship with your father. Tell us a little bit about that.
So speaking of that, just kind of cultivating the gifts and talents in transition, it's that, you know, sometimes we don't realize the things that we've gone through. Sometimes it's a gift to us.
Right, exactly.
And so let me use that to kind of speak to my name. So my name is Michael Stewart Isaacs. And a lot of times it's hard for people to say my last name because it's hyphenated, it's long, it's a lot of letters, you don't know what order it's in. But the reason why I stand on the name as a hyphenated name, because it represents my fatherhood and my upbringing. So I'm the first Stewart Isaacs, my family being Jamaican. My biological father is Jamaican.
Okay.
And my father who raised me is Jamaican. And so my biological father is Stewart, and the father who raised me was Isaac. So I was raised by what we deem a stepfather.
Okay.
But I've never seen him as a stepfather because there was never anyone in his way.
Wow.
Right? And so he raised me since I was like 6 months. He married my mother when I was 6 months. And part of the reason I learned later in life, he's passed away, rest his soul, his name is 𝗁𝗂𝘁𝘁 Isaacs. One of the things he used to say to me was he didn't want to see another young Jamaican boy go without a father. Right. And, you know, I understood that from a deep context. And, you know, he has his own children and, you know, they're my brothers and sisters. And, we grew up, but he just took me and my sister in very young with my mother. And it was a different exposure and a different experience because he treated us like his kids. He never treated us like we were less than. And it was an amazing thing. I took it for granted as a kid. You don't understand the power of that when you're young. And then for me, I was a trouble kid from Brooklyn, so I got moved to North Carolina. So my father in New York, that I was saying, he was a corrections officer.
Okay.
He worked for a youth prison called Spofford in New York. So anybody out there that's from New York and knows that's like a notorious youth, 50 Cent type of people came through those facilities. So my father was just determined to never allow me to go that path.
Gotcha.
And so between that and my mother and just my behavior, that's why they sent me to North Carolina. But it was the best thing that happened. Though I had some emotional things I had to grow from, it really taught me the importance of decisions as a father, right? Making the right decision to position your children or position your lineage for success. We were talking about gifts and talents with kids, and I think sometimes the fathers don't even realize that they have gifts and talents in themselves yet. So it's insecurity that we have to bring to confidence, so it becomes competence, and then you're able to really believe that God gave you a gift in this child to really take care of. And I feel like my biological father, me and him, he's still alive. I've been fostering a relationship with him. Wow. And I've done that for myself.
Gotcha.
Because one of the things in the work I do is I didn't want any resentment. I didn't want to be mad about something. I wanted to be so empowered that I dealt with my stuff.
Right.
And this is what we encourage a lot of people to do. And it's not easy. It takes time. There's a lot of emotional healing. I've gone through a lot of work to get to this place. But part of that comes out in the work of I Am Brilliant, which is bringing this utmost joy out of myself. Every day I get to tell myself I am brilliant, to remind myself that my story, everything I've been through with my father, my fathers, is all meaningful.
Right. So your mother still living?
Yes, she
okay, great.
Yes,
okay.
She's down in Georgia.
Georgia.
Yes.
Okay, so when you look at gifts and talents, we have a class that we do. We talk about courage, confidence, and determination.
Yes.
And as a father, and primarily as men, we deal with we tell men all the time. A friend of mine, one of my mentors always told us, you can't get what you don't have.
True.
But we do have it.
Yeah.
In order to recognize it in your child, sometimes you got to recognize it inside of you. So not only do we try to point them to call out the gifts in their child, we also help them try to recognize the gift is in you. Because the gift is in you is probably the same gift that's in your child.
Oh, yeah.
And so even though you're 30 and 40 or 50 and you made some bad decisions and end up in prison and you back out now, those things, that gift, that talent is still there. Mm-hmm. It's never left. Yeah. So now is the opportunity, the time now to take where you are coming out and start investing back in yourself and become an expert at something.
That's it.
It don't matter what it is.
I love it.
If it's mopping floors.
It's something.
Study how to mop floor. Make sure your floor is the cleanest floor.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying? You and then you come up with now a solution of how you got that floor clean, put that in a bottle, get it patent. You know what I'm saying? So
it all has
the sky is the limit.
But once you operate in your gifts and your talents, it all starts to unfold naturally. Because I always say humans don't realize we're a seed. We're a seed.
Yes.
Every one of us. And so the potential of who we are is within us always.
Right.
And the key to it is getting in better fertilizer.
Right.
So you can truly grow and operate.
So when God created us, he put a seed inside of us. Mm-hmm. That seed is going to grow if it's in the natural thing. You put a seed on this carpet floor, it's not going to grow. Mm-hmm. Because the soil is not going to receive it, accept it. So even though we have gifts and talents, if your soil is like you said, it's got a lot of bitterness and resentment and abandonment issue, and a lot of times that happens when fathers are not there. Their kids become very bitter and angry, and that gets in the way now of your seed being fully planted in your soil. Yes. To make it grow. So that's a very important point. I like that you take that out. Because I want to make sure there's nothing in my heart that can stop me from growing.
There you go.
And so if I got to call somebody and apologize for my behavior, what I've done, I tell people all the time, especially the fathers, apology got two legs. Mm-hmm. It's a confession that I did something wrong, mm-hmm. and the promise that I never do it again.
That's good.
If you don't have those two things, you don't have an apology. All you have is lip service. You tell me I'm sorry, you cuss me out, you call me all kind of names. You tell me I'm sorry, and 2 days later you're doing the same thing. That's not an apology, dude. Keep that. Because it's 2 legs. It's a promise.
That's good.
A confession. I did something to harm you, but I promise never to do it again. That's who we are as people, and as fathers, we have to come back up from our bad choices, whatever we done, and go to our loved ones and our family to say, hey, and especially our kids who now feel abandoned. You know, thank God for you. You had a stepfather that stepped in and took over that role. There's some kids don't have that.
Yeah.
And they grow up very bitter and very angry. And sometimes that can get in the way of them exceeding, which also can lead to other issues like substance abuse and all kind of things now that's going to further deepen the divide of you and your dividing you from your destiny.
And I think
your purpose.
To your point, and not to cut you off, but just we're reflections, we're mirrors. Part of what we started with the movement of I Am Brilliant is that ability to reflect brilliance to one another, because humans are reflecting to each other what their pains are, but we start reflecting our potentials, we'll all start to achieve it more. And I think that's the key in this, in our communities, and the hurt that's there. You know, we talked about how we started, about who introduced us. Joel would always make these comments of hurt people hurt people.
Exactly. Right.
And so we have to first eliminate the hurt, but sometimes we not so much waiting for someone else to forgive us. We have to learn to forgive ourselves, because as many times we're mad at someone else, we become the same demons that we say they were.
Exactly.
Because we haven't dealt with our own hurts. They can't fix it. Even my biological father, with a relationship with him today, he still doesn't know how to acknowledge the burden that his absence caused on my life. But I don't look for him to do that anymore. Right? Because I found my purpose and I dealt with it, even in his challenges. And so I say that to the audience, because even though we're all trying to deal, you can't always expect people to do the same work that you're doing.
Right.
The key to it is still do the work anyway.
Right. You know, Mike, when we first sit down, before we started talking this, I said I have some questions. I said we may not get to the questions.
Yes, sir.
And then we said we had 30 minutes, and she said, Andrew said, y'all gonna not discuss half the stuff you want to discuss because time is gonna go so fast. And she's pulling my coattail, not telling her time is kind of ending. But I really, really want you to come back, and we're gonna, I want to have some more round tables with you and a couple other guys I want to bring to the table, because I want to do a whole series on gifts and talents. That's one of my goals. One of the guys that dealing with substance abuse and drugs, and if you can find your gifts and your talent, that stuff will fall to the wayside. Because your goal is not to get high now. It is to, because you love what you're doing. That's why I ask people all the time, what would you do every day of your life if you didn't get paid to do it? If you can identify that, that's probably your gift.
But we knew what we were reflecting, which is our real seed, which is God.
Right.
We are God's particle. Exactly. So if you understand that you're God, how would you treat God? Treat yourself better.
Exactly.
Do you understand? Right. I think that's the mindset that we're trying to shift, is try to treat yourself better.
Yeah. And just thank God for the talent and the gift that he put in each one of us. And I really will want to, look at dialoguing with that and talk about how to take that seed and start to nurture it and water it and make it grow and make it blossom and make it become, the people that we are, our family, our loved ones, and celebrate peace and joy. Instead of walking around with bitterness and resentment and, sad and depression, you walk around with purpose, which brings brilliance, which brings joy. Which means joy. Man. Which means you go out now starting to, looking for things that you're attracted to, and those things that, so we just scratch the surface.
We just scratch the surface
of another conversation. But anyway, before we go, would you like to say something to the audience about your movement, I Am Brilliant, and just get encouraged in?
I would like to take this moment to say, continue to use your gifts and talents to empower not only your neighborhood, but yourself. If you can empower yourself, you'll empower your family, your community, and your company. And the goal with your gifts and talents in this movement of I Am Brilliant is that when we look at the world today, we have entrepreneurship where you can start to structure yourself, where you become an owner, where before they may have tried to strip things away from you, now you have an opportunity to be an owner and really take these tools of your gifts and talents and turn it into something that becomes a media company, that becomes assets, real estate, so many different opportunities out there. So continue to shine and continue to reboot and illuminate as often as possible. So we appreciate that here at I Am Brilliant. I'm grateful here to be on this show with you, Glenn.
Mike, I am so glad.
Yes, sir. Yes,
It's
sir.
an honor to have you come and be a part of our podcast. And I want to say to our guests, to our Facebook family and our YouTube, please go and listen to this podcast and show it to your coworkers, your family, your friends, anybody that's struggling or not struggling, and just show it to them and inspire them to do, some things maybe they need to do, or maybe they're already doing, to encourage them to keep doing the right thing and making their life better. So until we meet again, we'll say so long and have a good time. Here's 3 ways you can support our Dads at a Distance initiative. Give a copy to a family member, a friend.
Please.
Donate monthly, a book monthly, 5 books monthly, how many books you want to do monthly donation. Reverse book signing, your church, your business. You can make a donation go to our website at www.afatherforever.com and go to our PayPal at Fathers Forever. Our Cash App is $Fathers Forever. Make your donation today. Please include in the note section, include DAAD. Again, it's include in the note section DAAD.
If you or someone you know would like to be a part of the show, please visit our website at www.afatherforever.com or call us at 919-779-9905. The Chat and Chew podcast streams Thursdays at 8 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. To schedule a reverse book signing or to find out more information about how you can become a part of the programs you heard us mention today, please be sure to stop by our website as well.
Hello, everyone. This is Glen Warren, founder and executive director of Fathers Forever. I want to share an alarming reality with you. 627,000 fathers are incarcerated that have kids under 18. Now, there are 56,000 moms incarcerated who have kids under 18. The reality is there are so many more fathers incarcerated than moms. This is why I Am a Father Forever book exists. Now, I need your help. I am inviting you to help us get this book into as many fathers incarcerated as possible. Here's how it works. For your donation of $22, we will provide a book to an incarcerated father. Thank you in advance for helping Fathers Forever heal fathers and save families.